ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ Verse 221 असङ्गचिद्विभुर्जीवः साङ्ख्योक्तस्तादृगीश्वरः योगोक्तस्तत्त्वमोरर्थौ शुद्धौ तावीति चेच्छृणु। So Vidyaranya pointed out that Jiva and Ishvara, which are Vachyartha, Afet, Tat Pada and Tvampada, are to be understood as a stepping stone to arrive at a Lakshartha, which is a reality. Paramathik Satyam, etc., absolute reality. And that is the consciousness, or a Sakshi, or a Kutastha, or Brahman. So once we arrive at this consciousness, which is same in both as a reality, our focus should be more on this Kutastha, which is ever free. Kutastha or Sakshi, same thing. So after claiming this Nitya Mukti, claiming Nitya Mukti is Jivan Mukti. Claiming Nitya Mukti is Jivan Mukti. That's all. There is no other Jivan Mukti. Claiming Nitya Mukti. I am free. I claim it now. So I am Jivan Mukta. That's all. Now there's a words Jivan Mukti and Videv. So this basically Pancadasi, it does this job. This looms large in our head. So Jivan Mukti and Videv Mukti. These are all Vyavarika. Only one Mukti is that I am free. I am ever free. I was free. I am free and I will be free. Even after many janmas, and if I don't remove you in ignorance also, I am free. That's my nature I am in. So, only thing is, due to ignorance, I have a notion that I am not free. I have to drop the notion that I am not free. This is mukti. So you have not to work for mukti, you have to work for dropping the notion. Because mukti is a reality for you. And therefore, even if what is real will never be negated, whether you know it or not. Whether you know the rope as a snake, the reality is that it will be a rope only. It won't change to snake. Rope does not get changed to snake. In your mind there is a snake. The reality is only rope only. So this is how it is. So Nitya Mukti is the Mukti. That's how I told you. So after claiming that permanent Mukti or Nitya Mukti, don't dwell too much now on this Vyavarika Jiva, etc. or Vyavarika Ishvara. Because both are product of Maya. And since Maya is basically Anirvachaniya Rupam, so both are Anirvachaniya. So if you dwell upon anything which is Mayakam, if you dwell more, you get answers also, but more the questions will also come. This is the nature of a Mayakam. Nature of a Anirvachaniyam, nature of a Mithya thing is this. that more you dwell upon it, you get answers also, but more questions also will come. And therefore, Vidyaranya says that you drop them because both are product of Maya. We have seen that. Jiva and Ishvara both are product of Maya. Anyway, so, and once you get few answers, you get more questions, then again you try to find more answers, then you get more questions, and so you are trapped. You are trapped. You dwell too much on an individual or you dwell too much on an Ishvara, even Jagat also. We know this. And therefore, we get trapped into that. And well, it becomes obstacle to attain a Paramarthic reality, which is there in present. So aim of moksha is basically claiming ever obtaining mukti. And from that standpoint, this Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti are empirical reality only, empirical byproducts you can say. It's basically a status of a mind, of a jnani. So how he got that, refined thoughts, etc., like karuna and, the compassion and then satisfaction and etc., etc., And so all these things, krodha, kamaha, etc., etc., many things have been narrated like that. All descriptions of a jnani, Jivan Mukta, are from the standpoint of a mind of a jnani. And if you probe into this Jivan Mukta, well, you are again caught up in this empirical reality. And from mental angle, perfect freedom does not exist at any time. And therefore, because mind being what it is, what can we do? Mind is limited. It has both the kinds of things. And therefore, basically, if you probe a Jivan Mukta if you probe a Jivan Mukta means you are probing that Jnani from the standpoint of mind. So we have come down from Paramarthika to the Vyavarika already. And then definitely, so neither yourself, neither a Jivan Mukta evaluate from the standpoint of mind. Never, because that is not the reality of a person. But reality is that the person is free. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. He is Brahman. I am also Brahman. He claims, I don't claim. That's all. The difference between two people is this. One claims the reality, other does not claim the reality. That's the difference. So one is called Jivan Mukta. One who claims, definitely, because knowledge, ignorance has gone. So they give a description of a Jivan Mukta from the standpoint of a mind, etc. Adveshta sarva bhutanam, this, etc. Vitaraga bhayakrodha stitadihi, etc. But we feel of that, well, from the standpoint of mind only, one should evaluate for, the moksha. That's very, very... The moksha is a Paramarthika vastu and mind is a Vyavarika vastu. So from a mental angle, perfect freedom does not exist at any time. So if you look at yourself from the standpoint of mind, you will postpone your mukti, which is there, that you postpone it. So that is how even after studying Vedanta, etc., people continue to judge themselves from a Vyavarika Jiva angle only. So Vidyaranya says, well, stop your mental judgment, claim your freedom, which is there, which is your nature, which is essentially there. So mental improvement will take place, as a byproduct. So this is Jivan Mukti. So we don't evaluate ourselves from the standpoint of mind. I evaluate myself from the standpoint of the self. Self and the mind are different things. One is Anatma, another is Atma. So that's a beauty of this. Anyway, and definition of Videha Mukti. Videha Mukti also is from Vyavarika standpoint. Definition of Videha Mukti is what? Merging these three bodies into samashti. Is it Vyavarika or Paramarthika? Well, it is Vyavarika. Because Sharira Trayam is a Vyavarika. And then they are merging into Ishvara, right? Merging into Ishvara. Well, that is also Vyavarika. It's merged into samashti also is Vyavarika. And it's just a byproduct of a knowledge. So let us not focus on the byproduct. it will happen. It's a byproduct, means it will happen automatically. And therefore, where should we, our focus should be there? Well, on this Nitya Mukta Atma only, which is my nature, which is the reality, which was before also and which is now also. The freedom is there. So mumukshu bihi, means by this mumukshu, dwelling should be like this only. So this Vyavarika refinement of mind, etc., and Vyavarika merger into Ishvara. Vyavarika refinement of mind, Jivan Mukti. Vyavarika merger into Ishvara, Videha Mukti. Don't probe into that. So, and we don't have a method also to know merger of Vyashti into Samashti. We don't have a method. Really speaking, if Shastra says, and so we say, okay. So Bhagavan does not send later also to others that see so and so person, his three bodies have merged into me. Bhagavan does not send a later. So, and it is Bhagavan's job, basically, dealing with my Sukshma Sharira. I have to deal with that I am a Sakshi of Sukshma Sharira. Bhagavan has to deal with my Sukshma Sharira. I have to deal, I should deal with this, that I am a Sakshi of a Sukshma Sharira. That's all. That's a big difference between this. Very important. So don't worry about this Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, etc. And let others also tag you, whatever they want to, the way they want to tag you. Nothing to worry about also. Oh, you are studying, are you Mukta or not, and this and that. So let them say whatever they want to say. Because are you Mukta or not means what? If you are not Mukta, you will be Mukta in the future. That itself shows there is no understanding of Vedanta. Very simple. And therefore I am free. If I say that I am bound, at that time also I am free. Right? So I was Mukta, I am Mukta, and I will be Mukta. So Brahman is by nature, it is free. It's absolute freedom. Brahman means absolute freedom. No limitation of time, no limitation of space. Deshakala, before Deshakala comes, Brahman is there. Where is the question? Deshakala comes because there is a disturbance in Maya, not in Brahman. And therefore, anything which brings a limitation, right? Anything which brings a limitation, name, form, etc., which is not there before that, Brahman is there. And therefore, Brahman is free. Absolutely free. And therefore, and that is me. Brahman cannot be other than Atma. There is no Brahman other than Atma. With this, we should put it, with the golden letters. There is no Brahman without Atma. And therefore, the Atma happens to be Brahman. And therefore, better claim it, that you are absolutely free. And therefore, this Jivan Mukti and Vyavara, this Videha Mukti and merging and all this, one has not to worry about it. Same way, one has not to too much go into the detail of Jiva and Ishvara and all, and their connections, and it has to be dropped. So this is what Acharya has to tell. A time may come, he may say that you have to, gain a grace of Ishvara, etc. That is also required. But what is the reality also should be taught. Teaching should be complete. So Acharya, when it is required now the question of a Tattvamasi, Asi is discussed under the discussion. That both are one. At that time he should not keep on saying that, you better worship Ishvara and gain grace. And now this is not a topic. There is when they are talking about identity between two. So what are the things which is to be told, they will tell. And therefore, this has been told. Now then student raises a question that there are other systems of philosophy which tell different things about Jiva and Ishvara. When they define differently. So then we get a doubt. So that's how we are plunged into the discussion of Jiva and Ishvara. We also don't want. But they define in a way which we may find correct or we may not find correct. They define Ishvara in a way, we don't find correct. So we'll have to enter into the discussion, etc. Like Sankhyas and Yogas and Nayayika and Vaisheshika, they have different definitions. And what do you think? Should we not clarify? Because you are saying you should not enter into the discussion. So should we not clarify all these things, etc. So, it should be clarified because it's part of Mananam. Yeah. And therefore, in absence of Mananam, Nididhyasanam won't take place. If doubt is there, Then how will you do Nididhyasana? Nididhyasana means the knowledge should be clear. Now you are in a process of removing a habitual error, right? It's an habit of taking the body as a self. Since Anadi Kala, this mechanical thinking is going on. Generally, we have a mechanical thinking. Generally, even while taking a bath, what we think we don't know. Once we come out, then then we realize certain. So this is how it is. So while making tea, also some mechanical thinking going on. Most of the actions are mechanical, and so taking body also as the self is an habit now, and therefore knowledge is clear, but then habit has been formed. So one has to basically free from this habit. That's called nididhyasana. And habit also is okay, but then it's a habitual error. It's an error. Now you know clearly that you are basically Shariratraya Vilakshanam. You know that you are distinct from three bodies, and still you take the body as a self. It's an error. And therefore one has to become free. So, but Mananam should do a job of removing all the doubts pertaining to a Jiva or Ishvara. And therefore, we will have to take into account what others say about it. Because their doubt, if I don't answer, at least in my mind, that his doubt is not his doubt, now it is my doubt. And therefore, I have to resolve that doubt. And for that sake, you will have to enter into the discussion of Jiva and Ishvara. What the way they defined may be correct, may not be correct. And then, Vidyaranya says, okay, at time of Mananam, you can assess the views of others regarding Jiva and Ishvara and dismiss the false one, but don't get permanently stuck into that. Sooner or later, you should transcend this Dvaitam, Jiva and Ishvara, etc., etc. Come to this Advaitam, which is a reality for you. There is nothing other than you in the creation. That's a reality. And therefore, better you realize it, better you claim it. Otherwise, we enter through the analysis of Jiva and Ishvara. That is correct. But that's a means. So let not this means becomes the end for you. So you remain into that only, all the time analyzing Jiva and Ishvara, and you will remain in Dvaitam then. And which is my command ultimately, because you won't find a final answer. Regarding an individual, you won't find a final answer. Regarding Ishvara also, you won't find a final answer. And therefore, basically, then drop them. So Vidyaranya says, you want to enter into the discussion because others are giving a definition of this Jiva and Ishvara differently. You want to enter into discussion, don't worry, I am also helping you. And therefore, now he is helping us. So, in verse 221, he introduced this, the view of a Sankhya and Yoga regarding Jiva and Ishvara. What it is said is, Asangachit Vibhuhu Jiva Sankhyokta. Sankhya's say this Jiva is a Asanga, relationless, connectionless, etc. or associationless. There is no association. Jiva has no association. Asanga. Chit, Chaitanyam, and Vibhuhu, all pervading. Jiva is all pervading and associationless or relationless consciousness. And therefore, associationless means Shuddha also, naturally, not connected to anything, not tainted by anything, asangam. And therefore, that is what Sankhya says. Jiva is like this. Then, Tadrug Ishvaraha Yogoktaha. Yoga people, they say they are actually the older brother of a Sankhya or a younger brother, whatever. So this yoga, generally their philosophy is a Sankhya's philosophy, but the difference is yoga people accept Ishvara. Sankhya's don't accept. So Sankhya talks about Jiva. That Jiva is Asangam and all pervading and consciousness. Sankhya, yoga says Tadrug Ishvara, Yogokta, Yogena Yukta. So this yoga people says Ishvara also is like this. Asangam, all pervading and consciousness. And then, so here the Purvapaksha says, that's fine. See, Sankhya says the Jiva is basically Asangam associationless, all-pervading consciousness. And that is the meaning of your Tvampada. He is telling us. Purvapakshi says, well, that is the meaning of a Tvampada. Tvampada Lakshartha is this. Asangam, Jiva is what? Asangam, all-pervading consciousness. And yoga people say Tadruk Ishvara. Ishvara also is like this. Ishvara is also associationless, all-pervading consciousness. That is your Tatpada. He says, Purvapakshi says, that is your meaning of a Tatpada. And therefore, why are you negating, Sankhyas and Yoga? Because ultimately what they give a definition of a Jiva by Sankhya and Ishvara by Yoga, that is your meaning of a Tat and Tvam. Could you follow what I am saying? And therefore, so it says here, Tattvamoho Arthau Shuddhau. So basically, why are you negating it? So, Tattvamoho Arthau, meaning of this Tat and Tvam, Shuddhau, means meaning of this Tat and Tvam, hey Vedantin, for you also is Shuddha Chaitanyam. And that is what they are saying. Jiva is also Asanga Shuddha Chaitanyam, all-pervading consciousness. Yoga people say Ishvara is also Asangam, all-pervading consciousness. Well, that is the meaning of your Tat and Tvam. Right? And therefore, why are you negating them? O Vedantin, why are you negating? That is what you are also saying. So Vidyaranya says, Iti Chet, if you say so, if you raise such a question, Hey Purvapakshi, well, Shrunu, I will have to tell something to you. It looks that they are also defining in the same manner, but it is not. It is not. So he will give an answer. And we have started discussion in that in 6 systems of philosophy, etc. We have started, right? And in that I told you this Sankhya Shastram is by Kapila and Yoga is by Patanjali. And Vyasacharya ji has refuted Sankhya philosophy in Brahma Sutra, 130 sutras for refuting Sankhya. They are very close to Vedanta, very close. Only few aspects are there where because of that they Sankhya's are Sankhya and Vedantin are Vedantin. Sankhya's are Dvaitavadi. We are Advaitavadi. I'll explain that little bit and we will see also in our other class. And so Vyasacharya ji refutes in Brahma Sutra in 130 sutras. Sankhya philosophy refutes. And then he makes one sutra to refute yoga. He says, Etena yogaha pratyuktaha. Whatever I have given you the reasoning, whatever I have, argued, given all the arguments against the Sankhya to refute them, same is applied to yoga also. Etena karanena yogaha pratyuktaha. So by this reason also, I am answering, pratyuktaha, I am giving back, I am answering them. I am replying rather. Yoga. So yoga people also. Anyway, so, but here Vidyaranya raises this question that when definitions are equal, then why are you rejecting? Anyway, now Vidyaranya gives an answer. 222. Na tattvamo orubhavarthau asmat siddhantatam gatau advaita bodhana yaiva sa kaksha kachidishyate. Vidyaranya says it is not that simple. Problem is there, otherwise why should I refute them? If their definition of a jiva given by Sankhya and definition of Ishvara given by the yoga people, if they are like our definition of a Tat and Tvampada, then why should I refute? I am not interested in refuting for the sake of refutation, but there is a difference. So problem is there. See, nature, Sankhya says nature of every jiva is a Asanga Chaitanyam and all pervading, etc. I mean, Indra also is Asanga Chaitanyam, Varuna also is Asanga Chaitanyam, human being also is Asanga, all pervading Chaitanyam. Please understand this. Asanga Chaitanyam is one thing. Asangam and all pervading consciousness. Every jiva is a Asanga, all pervading consciousness. And yoga people say Ishvara is also like that, Asangam, all pervading consciousness. Now question is, we ask to this Sankhya's, Very fine. Jiva is a all-pervading asangam chaitanyam, consciousness, that's fine. But how many such all-pervading consciousnesses are there? And you know what answer should be given by them, right? All-pervading consciousness means how many? All-pervading space, how many spaces? One, naturally all-pervading. See now, but the Sankhya says no. There are innumerable jivas. Means there are innumerable asangam, all-pervading consciousnesses. There are innumerable, all-pervading consciousness. So, there are many jivas. So, they are Dvaita. They don't accept Ishvara. But one jiva and other jiva, there is a difference. Even though both are all-pervading consciousness. That is how it is. That I don't know, but this is how it is. So asanga chit vibhuhu. Vibhuhu means sarvagatam, all-pervading. Anyway, so you are also all-pervading consciousness, and I am also all-pervading consciousness. He is also all-pervading consciousness, etc., etc. So there are innumerable like that, they say. So he is a Chaitanya Bahutvavadi. So Dvaitvadi rather. This is one problem. Jivas are many. In reality, I mean, in reality. Don't think, Swamiji, we also say jivas are many. But we don't, we say seeming differences are there, Upadhi Vedas. So we'll talk about it later. Anyway, but they say no. One jiva and other jiva is essentially different. Dvaitvadi. Okay. Now, there is another problem also with the Sankhyas. They say this Prakriti, well, or this matter, etc., from which the whole creation has come. We call Maya actually. That Prakriti is as real as this Purusha, Jiva. So, consciousness is the one reality and this Prakriti also another reality. And so, actually we say is there is no Prakriti which is as real as consciousness. Maya is basically mithya, we know. They don't use word Maya, they say Prakriti. Prakriti means Moola Karana, the primordial cause for the entire creation. We say Maya, they say Prakriti, that's fine, that is okay. Sometimes we also use the word Prakriti. But the question is, they say Purusha and Prakriti are both real. We say Prakriti or this Maya, the cause of this whole creation, primordial cause of the whole creation, is mithya, is non-separate from Brahman, consciousness. They say no, both are equally real. That way also they are Dvaitavadi. So, basically, tat tvamoho ubhau arthau. So, two separate objects, basically meaning of two separate words, tat and tvam, in form of two separate consciousness, etc. Na smat siddhantatam gatau is not acceptable to Vedantin. So, here, so basically one jiva, tvam-pada, another jiva, another tvam-pada. So, we basically say all these differences are seeming differences. Tat they don't have, Sankhya's don't have, of course, because Ishvara is not there. But in basically two separate consciousnesses are there for two tvam-pada, let us say. Here, Vidyaranya says tat and tvam, because yoga people also say, see in yoga, now let me talk about that also. In Sankhya says there is a difference between one jiva and other jiva. Jiva Bheda is real. Yoga people say Jiva Ishvara Bheda also is real. Ishvara is a Purusha Vishesha. And I gave you that definition before perhaps. You know, they say Klesha Karma Vipaka Ashayahi Aparamushtaha Purusha Visheshaha Ishvaraha. Purusha Vishesha Purushottamaha means Ishvara. He is free from all this Klesha, Karma, Vipaka and all this. I have explained you. These are the doshas. So Jiva has this dosha. Ishvara is free from dosha. So yoga people basically accepts Jiva Ishvara Bheda. Sankhya accepts, since Sankhya's do not believe in Ishvara, they accept Jiva Bheda. But Bheda is there. Ultimately, Jiva Ishvara Bheda is there. So what I am saying is, so he says, Tat Tvamoho Ubhau Arthau. The meaning of the word, to both the words, Tat and Tvam, so they were two separate words, Tat and Tvam, well, are different. two separate consciousnesses. Tat means all-pervading consciousness, and Tvam also means all-pervading consciousness. Therefore, ultimately it is one. No. Even though, well, both are all-pervading consciousness, but they are essentially different. Who says? Sankhyas and Yoga, whatever you want to take. Tvam, well, difference between two Tvam-pada, right? The meaning of the two Tvam-pada are different. Or, well, for Yoga people, Tat and Tvam, meaning of two words, Tat and Tvam, are different. That's what they say. And, well, Acharya says, Na asmat siddhantatam gatau, asmat siddhantatam. We will not acceptable to, it is not acceptable to Vedanta, not acceptable to us. Asmat siddhantata. It is not in our siddhanta that there is a real difference between Tvam and Tvam, and there is a real difference between Tat and Tvam. Right? There is no real difference. So, two words are there, but then not two separate consciousnesses. Two words are there, but the meaning is ultimately one. So, he was waiting for this opportunity. He asked the question, if you don't accept basically two consciousnesses as two and as the meaning of two words, Tat and Tvam, so why are you using two words? If Tat is also consciousness, Tvam also means a consciousness, means meaning is one only, then why are you using two words? He is asking us. If you are using two words, there should be a separate meaning. Even though it is a consciousness in both the case, but one all-pervading consciousness must be different from another all-pervading consciousness. Otherwise, it will be a synonymous. Two words are there, meaning is one, it's synonymous. So then we have to answer now. No, Tat Tat is also all-pervading consciousness, and Tvam also is all-pervading consciousness, is essentially one alone. Then why are you using two words? He's asking us. So, why are you using these two words? He is saying, when meaning is just one, so two words are not required. Use one word, because meaning is only one, then drop one word. Only use one word for one meaning. So, answer is, well, we use two words as a stepping stones to arrive at this consciousness, basically. So, Advaita Bodhanaya, only for revealing consciousness, word Tat and Tvam is used as intermediate state. So, he says, Sa Kaksha Ishyate. So, intermediate level of teaching is used in order to arrive at this oneness of both. So, and now we explain that. So, when do you write an equation? Because ultimately Tat and Tvam are equated by equation. Without equation, we are not talking anything. And now we are asking you a question, when do you write an equation? When do you write an equation? If two things are evidently equal, you will not require equation. 8 is equal to 8. You won't require that equation. If Tat and Tvam, essentially they are one, means the meaning is just one, we don't require equation. We don't require equation. If two things are unequal, and then also we don't write an equation. You won't say it is equal to 9. But if two things are seemingly unequal, you count as 2, but essentially they are 1. You reveal that identity by an equation. Okay. So this is, so it's not a synonymous words. Tat and Tvam, apparently different. Definitely. Everyone says, Jiva and Ishvara are one. Who says? No one says. So Jiva and Ishvara, and not just just by some chance. Jiva is Jiva, Ishvara is Ishvara. Alpagna, Alpashaktiman, and Sarvagna, Sarvashaktiman. Superior attributes, inferior attributes, they are there. So differences are there. So, well, and therefore you need two words. That means basically Ishvara. Tvam means a jiva. One is a karma phala data, antaryami, etc. Other one is seeking karma phala, etc. through grace, whatever. So basically, if two things are seemingly unequal, means you count them as a two, but it is essentially one. In that case, we have to reveal that equality, identity by an equation. Without equation, we are not talking about Jiveshwara Ikyam. That equation alone is called Mahavakya. And therefore, so we do write as two separate things. Seemingly unequal are really equal. Like 5 plus 3 is equal to 9 minus 1. These are our standard examples. So all physical numbers 5, 3, 9, 1 all are different. Even their mathematical signs are different, plus and minus, etc. on both the sides. So they are seemingly different. When they are seemingly different, you require both the sides. If equal means you don't require two sides. Like 8 is equal to 8, who will write? You don't write. When you write two sides, means there must be difference. But to indicate a seeming difference, we write is equal to. Yeah. We write is equal to. So, two things are different. We'll not write is equal to. But two things are apparently different. To reveal the essential identity, we write equal to. So, 5, 3, 9, 1. Different. Plus, minus. Different. Oh, but 5 plus 3 is nothing but 9 minus 1. We write equal to. And therefore, two words are okay, nothing to worry about. So I write on two sides. So when two things are seemingly different, by putting equation, we negate the differences. So in beginning, I accept that seeming duality because I write on both the sides, tatpada and tvampada. So when I write as two sides, I accept seeming difference on both the sides. That is called intermediate state of an equation. That's called sakaksha. Kaksha. Kaksha means it is intermediate state. Ishyate. It is acceptable. It is desired. It is required. So that is how we have two words. So this is called intermediate state of equation. When you write both the sides, and to indicate the differences between them, to indicate the differences which are seeming, to indicate that seeming difference, we write equal to. So students think there are two different things, but asipada, so tat and tvam are different. Everyone is born with this. One who enters into Vedanta also will come with this difference only, that Jiva is different, Ishvara is different. And so in beginning, of course, of the class, student thinks they are different. So teachers also accept difference temporarily. And Jiva and Ishvara are introduced separately also on two sides by putting equation. And then seeming duality is negated by putting equal to sign. So negation of duality is a final stage. Acceptance of a duality initially is an intermediate state. And when, if the difference is there, and therefore we have to use two words, tat and tvam. But ultimately they are one. So basically, so for revealing, so they says here, so in the final stage, of course, this neither tat or tvam will have a difference. There is only a chaitanya. And so for revealing Advaita Bodhanaya Sakaksha, so for the revealing, for teaching rather Advaita Bodhanaya, for teaching this non-duality between the two, essential oneness between the two, Sakaksha, this intermediate state of a difference, duality is accepted. Whereas for Sankhya, Yoga and other people, initially also Jiva is different, or Jiva Ishvara is different, and finally also Jiva and Ishvara are different. So basically, this is the difference between Sankhya Yoga and us. And therefore, ultimately, you are saying that, Jiva is a asangam, all-pervading consciousness. Ishvara is also asangam, all-pervading consciousness. And therefore, there is no difference of for a Vedantin and Sankhya's for defining Jiva and Ishvara. That's not true. Well, they accept the differences. Even though they say Asanga Chaitanyam, all-pervading consciousness, Jiva is defined like this, still that Jiva is different from another Jiva. Another is also all-pervading consciousness. Then all-pervading consciousness means there will be, well, one Jiva and the other Jiva, there is no difference. Essentially they are one. No, they are different. Who says? Sankhya says. And Jiva and Ishvara also are, finally also, they are different all the time. So that is, so ultimately this is not us. We initially accept the difference between the two, because the one who enters into Vedanta class will come with that. And so intermediately we accept the difference and we put the equation. We put two sides itself shows that we have accepted the difference. But that difference is seeming, that is revealed by that equation, that equal to sign. And therefore, this is how it is. So, Kachit Kaksha Ishyate. Kachit means this temporary level, intermediate level of a difference, etc. is accepted by Vedantin. And for that, for seeming difference also we have need two words, that Tat and Tvam. We call Vachyartha, etc. But there is not final meaning of either a Tvam, Jiva, or a Tat, Ishvara. Let's go to 223. Anadimaya Bhrantaha Jiveshau Suvilakshanau Manyante Tadvyudasaya Kevalam Shodhanam Tayo. Now Vidyaranya clarifies that thing also, that seeming duality is a difference here. So it is taken as a real difference by ignorant people. Why? Vidyaranya says Bhrantaha, confused, deluded jivas, deluded individuals. Deluded by what? Anadi Mayaya. So deluded by, because of Maya, they are deluded, taking Ishvara as different from the Jiva or from oneself. And so once I say Jiva is deluded, then all questions, series of questions come. Once we say Jiva is deluded, so they will say from when did he delude? When delusion started? And when did first Jiva come? When did first karma come? And when did first creation come? All questions will come. So, Vidyaranya just says one word and says, all questions have one answer, and that is Anadi. Okay. So Anadi means don't ask when. When will not, that question when will not be there if I say beginningless. When indicates a beginning. And therefore, when you say when, if you are asking with when, well, it's Anadi, we say, beginningless. And therefore, there is no question of when at all. So, because beginningless, Maya beginningless, Jiva beginningless, creation beginningless, delusion, because Jiva means Ajnana. So, if it is Jiva is beginningless, means Ajnanam also is beginningless. Therefore, delusion also is beginningless. And therefore, when did Jiva delude? Anadi. When did Jiva come? Anadi. When did creation come? Anadi. When did karma come? Anadi. Okay? So, Bhrantaha manyante. So, Bhrantaha, basically, these people, manyante. Manyante means they believe. What? Difference between Jiva and Ishvara. Well, they have this false notion. They assume misconception. Jiveshau suvilakshanau. Well, Jiva Isha suvilakshanau. Well, this is a delusion of Jiva that both are, Jiva and Ishvara are different. But they think that the Parmarthik Bheda is there between them. They believe that way. So I don't deny the perceptual difference. I'm not talking about Ishvara, but the perceptual difference is there all the time and it's very useful. This Bheda is a fantastic thing. Really. You imagine, yesterday I think I told you, right? Yesterday or day before yesterday, I don't know. But Bheda is there. Well, then there is a water and there is a glass. So if you don't recognize the difference, what will happen? Instead of a glass, instead of a water, you take glass. So plate is there, food is there, what is to be taken, what is not to be taken, you should know the difference. Plate is plate and food is food. Veda is an excellent thing. No Vyavahara is possible if Veda is not there. No Vyavahara. I think human being cannot live. One who cannot recognize the difference cannot live at all. He can't live. See, Vedantin is saying, yeah, but for Vyavahara, I am saying again, Veda and Vyavahara goes together. Whole Veda is based on Vyavahara or Vyavahara is based on Veda, either. But essentially, two things which are different in Vyavahara will be one as in a true sense. And that's what we know. Ring is a ring and a chain is a chain. One you put it in a neck and other you put in a finger. It does not mean essentially they are different. What is useful in a Vyavahara is all Bheda. Mithya only. That's what we say. And therefore it is good. So Pratyaksha Pramana reveals it also. That is what it does. Pratyaksha Pramana reveals difference, Veda. Shruti Pramana reveals a Veda. And therefore, then both should be taken. That's what we discussed. If you remember, that Pratyaksha Pramana reveals Veda, Shruti reveals a Veda, then let Veda, Veda only we should do. But Veda is a Mithya. Yeah, otherwise we will accept Veda, Veda. So Vyavahare Veda, Veda also. Yeah, Vyavahara Veda, Veda is okay. Vishishtadvaitin also is okay. Vyavahare we are Vishishtadvaitin. No problem. Jiva is, I am a Jiva and I am Amsha of a Narayana. Fine, no problem. Yeah. But when we talk about the reality, well, this Veda does not stand. Scrutiny. Pratyaksha reveals a Veda, that's okay. So Akasha is different from Vayu and Vayu is different from Agni and Vyashti Sharira is different from Samashti Sharira, etc. So Virat and this, So Vyavaharik Veda, Advaitin accepts. And that's how he begins. Advaitin starts the class of Advaita, begins with the prayer. Shanti Mantra accept. And therefore, ultimately, there is, anyway, and that is the job of a guru ultimately. But Tad Vidasaya, see, Tad Vidasaya means this Vailakshanyam Vidasaya. For negation of the difference between Jiva and Ishvara from a Paramarthic angle, well, ultimately, Tayoho Shodhanam, well, Tat and Tvam Pada Shodhanam has to be done. So, assume real difference, is negated. Assumed real difference is negated. Unassumed unreal difference is established. Yeah. Assumed real difference is negated. Unassumed unreal difference is established by a teacher. That is what it is. And therefore, so like in Sapna also we have Veda. The drinker is different. The glass is different. The water is different. The very drinking process is different. All are there. Veda. But still, from a Vaikar standpoint, it is all Mithya. When you are in a Sapna, you say all are different. But when you wake up, you find the whole thing is Mithya. So-called Veda is Mithya. That is what it is. And therefore, Vidasaha. Vidasaha means negation, elimination. V plus Ud plus As dhatu, fourth conjugation. So, Vidasyati means to negate, to eliminate. So, here Vidasaha is equal to elimination. Elimination of what? Vailakshanyam. Vailakshanya Vidasaya. Tad Vidasaya. Vidyaranya says. Tad means this Vilakshanata. The difference between what? Between Jiva and Ishvara are eliminated. By what? Tayoho Shodhanam. Shodhanam. Shodhanam means inquiry. Inquiry into this both. Tatpada and Tvam-pada. By inquiring into both. But Shodhanam also means a Shuddhi. Purification actually. And this is true. Well, the Tat and Tvam are, purified by inquiry. The impurities are removed from both the sides. Okay? The Mithya part has been removed from both. From the Vachyartha, both are removed. So from one, avidya is gone, and avidya, that upadhi, and then reflected consciousness in that upadhi also gone. Both are mithya. So then, well, you gain by the shodhanam, by inquiring into tvampada, you ultimately gain consciousness, pure consciousness, right? So they use like this, tattvam shodhanam. Shodhanam means actually shuddhikaranam, purification, man, that's true. Inquiry itself, well, removes this impurities. We remove impurities. Bhranti also, you can say. Tat and Tvam basically are different. Jiva and Ishvara are essentially different. That Bhranti is a impurity. That Brahma is a impurity. That is removed by the inquiry itself. So, accepting their seeming difference, we go to either Avasthatraya Viveka, either we go to Panchakosha Viveka, or Shariratraya Viveka, whatever. But ultimately, we arrive at the oneness of both. And Kevalam, it has been told. So, you can see this. So, Jiveshau Suvilakshanau Tad Vidasaya Kevalam Manyante. Kevalam Tad Vidasaya Manyante. Kevalam means basically we are accepting a temporary difference between the two. And well, we begin with that and we inquire into these two independently, and we found that there is only a seeming difference or difference based on upadhi, avidya and maya and the reflected consciousness, etc., which is mithya, and therefore we remove that differences, and we remove those upadhis, and we remove also the reflected consciousnesses. Being mithya, we remove them, then we arrive at the essential nature of both as just pure consciousness. That is what it is. 224. अतएव अत्र दृष्टान्तः योग्यः प्राक् सम्यगीरितः घटाकाश महाकाश जलाकाशाब्रखात्मकः. Vidyaranya says, well, to show the essential nature of both as one, I have in fact started the chapter with an example of a space. Of course, we saw example of this equation 5 plus 3, 9 minus 1 and all that. Both are different, but essentially it is 1, etc., etc. 5, 3, 9, 1, all are different. Plus, minus, different. Everything. But ultimately they are one only. So this is an example also we can give. But Vidyaranya's example is this, Akasha. So, well, I do talk about this Ghatakasha and Mahakasha also. I have introduced these two words in the beginning of chapter, Vidyaranya says. And Shrota thinks that Akasha inside the Ghata and is different, and outside the Ghata, outside the pot also is different. So he feels there are two Akashas, Ghatakasha and Mahakasha. Right? Yes, the pot space and the outer space. So Vedanta says, well, Akasha is neither inside nor outside. So basically, it is all pots are out, within the Akasha. So there is not, because ultimately Akasha is indivisible. If anything which is divisible, you can definitely, for that you can talk about inside and outside. Like suppose instead of Akasha there is a water. I will talk that pot within water and pot outside water. I can definitely say. You should not say, well, there is one pot in which there is one water in which all the pots are there. No. If I just put a pot here in the room, filled up with the water, I say the water is inside the pot. And outside water is not there. Outside, somewhere else there may be water. Water is divisible. What is divisible, there you can use word inside and outside. What is not divisible, you can't use word inside, outside. So for Akasha, you cannot use like this because it is indivisible. Akasha can't be divided. So how can you say then inside and outside? Well, etc. And therefore this kind of adjective, inside outside adjective with space itself is not possible when two separate nouns are not there. How can you say two separate adjectives? Space, well, is one. Noun is one. Therefore, two adjectives, ultimately inside outside cannot be used with this. two separate nouns are there, then you can use two separate adjectives. So water can be divided. So then I can definitely say inside water, outside water, in ocean or whatever. That I can definitely say. So water itself is divisible, and so I get two nouns now. One which is inside, one which is outside. But space is something which is indivisible. And therefore, there is not called Ghatakasha and Mahakasha. There is Akasha, in which all the parts and everything is there. So here for the self also it is like this. Yeah. We are using word sometime inner self, Pratyagatma. We use Pratyagatma, we use that way. But there is one indivisible self in which all the bodies, whole creation is there. And so why do you use this word inner self, etc.? Because the student uses these two words, etc. There is one self not qualified as inner and outer. So this inner and outer, in and out of Vedanta will be there. But in and out of self will not be there. In and out of Vedanta, something which is out of Vedanta, that is there. Yeah. But this in and out of self, it is not there. So he says, Ataha eva, therefore only, atra yogya drishtantaha samyagiritaha. Yogya drishtanta, very appropriate example. Samyagirita, very well, have been told by me in the beginning of the chapter. What is that example? Of a space. So Chaitanya Vishay, with respect to consciousness, I have given you an appropriate example. Chaitanyam is akhandam, indivisible, like Akasha is akhandam. So, so there is a very, very good similarity between Akasha and Atma. Well, and because, see, Akasha is indivisible, Chaitanyam is indivisible. Then, Akasha is uncontaminated. Chaitanyam, consciousness, is uncontaminated. Well, and then there are many other, has all-pervading, etc., etc. And therefore, basically, these are the things by which we can definitely understand this Tat and Tvam. There are no two separate Chaitanyams, etc. Or there are no two separate Chaitanyams so far as two Jivas are also concerned. So, seeming difference due to Upadhi are there. Well, definitely. Jiva's Upadhi, Vidya, Ishvara's Upadhi, Maya, etc. But there are seeming differences. The attributes also the attributes are different. Superior, inferior attributes are also there. But that is also due to Upadhi. And therefore, ultimately, essentially it is one thing alone. Upadhi is a mithya. And therefore, the differences are also mithya between them. Essentially, it is one thing. Because the self or the consciousness is indivisible. And therefore, to divide anything, you need a parts. Which possesses parts can be divided. Which is partless can never be divided. Like I have body, it can be divided. One part you can take it or something like. So that is possible. Anything which is having a parts can be divided. Which is niravayavam. How will you divide? Akasha also we accept in example as a niravayavam. It has a parts, but we accept it as niravayavam. And so that also, so Akasha is a niravayavam, partless. Consciousness also is partless. That way in example we compare. Anyway, so Yogya Drishtanta, this is a appropriate example. Akasha's Drishtanta, which he has already given. Ghatakasha, Mahakasha, Jalakasha, Abrakhatmaka. We'll see that. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.